co-founder and CEO, Swiggy.
Hi, thank you very much. Hello everyone, good morning, and it's a huge honor to be coming for this event. It's also very special. Hyderabad is a city that I've spent a lot of my time, more than any other place in Singh. I did my +1, +2 here, then came back for a long internship, have very, very fond memories. My co-founder spent almost his entire life, except his engineering, in Hyderabad. And I have other very fun memories, escaping college and getting hit at the movie theaters and all of that, but that's for another day. And in fact, when we were, the two of us, me and Nandan, my co-founder, were jamming together on ideas, the first place where we actually came was to Hyderabad, because he was already living here. He was failing away on his 4th startup. And I said, chalo, like, let's keep doing this thing. And I moved just then from London and came, and I think so much has changed from that time to now, that at the time, even though the both of us were full of energy, it wasn't easy to kind of find, camped off to Bangalore, because at least we had a slightly better starting point over there. But I wonder if we were to start all over again, and if we logically started with Hyderabad, maybe we'll never find a reason to leave. So it's great to see how much has changed in Hyderabad, and very, very excited for how the overall ecosystem gets developed here. And the second point, is on the title. It says building a Decacon. Honestly, if anyone woke up wanting to build a Decacon, that's the surest way not to build a Decacon. A Decacon is also, again, like 2021, 2022, 2023. Lots of these years have lots of changes. So it's very important not to get excited or carried away by any of these things. But however, I think I and Swiggy has had the good fortune of building a service at scale that consumers like, love, iterated, failed, succeeded a few times, failed also often enough. And mostly today's, in the time that we have, just wanted to talk about that part of the story, building a service from 0 to 1 and seeing its scale and all the challenges that come with it. And as someone mentioned in the previous panel, I think most of it is coming down to getting the right people together at the right place, at the right time. So luck cannot be overstated enough. But I think every startup or founder is still able to identify, 1, 2, 3 things that I think still they can call their secret sauce. And for us, I think that aspect would go more around failing and inventing, and the two are connected like nobody's business. And for that, I'll have to go back a little bit in the background. So as I mentioned, when I first came back to India, I wanted to set up a backpacker hostel chain. And I did the math. It was like 30-40 lakhs of EBITDA at the end of the year. And I said, okay, I don't have too many needs. And I went and didn't have fun, wanting to go deeper, and then came back. And then, like I said, Nandan was 4 startups down. And then we basically built our first product together called Bundle. While we had interesting traction, we felt like it wasn't worth our opportunity cost. And at that time, he was already at a place saying, I need to find a job. He wrote me a long mail once I got down from a flight somewhere saying, this is all. I think I cannot ask my aunt for any more support, my mom for any more support. I just want to go for the job. But maybe it was quite lucky that we managed to sit down and said, okay, fail just one more time, and let's see what that goes. Maybe even I'll find a job if this doesn't work. And as it turns out, all our learnings from Bundle, which were in the logistics space, even though it wasn't a direct copy, there were insights from the Bundle journey where we understood how underpenetrated technology was in logistics. And that led us to wander around that insight for a few more months before actually going through one level of the insight, saying actually nobody's focusing on the customer experience. Seems like urban logistics is an interesting opportunity. And all of these funny things come together sometimes to emerge as one breakthrough insight. And that's what happened with us. If we didn't fail with Bundle, we wouldn't have found Swiggy. So sometimes it's very weird when you look backward and see some of these dots connecting in very weird ways. There is no other logical explanation for why we would have come up with some of the solutions that we did. And that was a theme We started Swiggy, we found the early successes that we did, and at some point, we felt like, okay, even on day one, as the name Swiggy was by design kept ambivalent because we weren't sure if we were going to be like a food company, a delivery company. We just said, let's start. We started as an urban logistics idea, of course. 3-4 years after setting up the company, we came together and said, okay, now how do we think about the conversation we left off on day one? We first needed to do a good enough job in food delivery. We agreed that, you know, convenience is what we get really excited by as a founding team, as a management team, and it all checked out. And that's when we again started, like, maybe you could say like a pretty aggressive expansionist regime into like 5-6 things. We would definitely change some of the ways we did these expansionist regimes, and that was also full of failures. At the end of maybe March 2020, we had 6 of these and none of them were working. And as is, our business had come down to like 10%, 15% of our pre-pandemic volumes because of COVID. And you could say that, hey, there's nothing really to write here about. Maybe all of our visions around convenience are just what we wish for and really not some things that will play out. One of these 5-6 failed initiatives called Swiggy Stores, where we tried to aggregate like demand from, you know, grocery stores, meat stores, etc., kind of got us again very weirdly into like 4-5 insights coming together, saying that even when the experience is average, turns out a lot of consumers still want to come back every day. So they must want it really badly. And that's when we said, how can we then solve this problem a little better than the early belief that we had? And that helped us identify our next breakthrough with Swiggy Instamart, where we're now offering, along with, you know, the first business we started of food delivery, convenience category as well, which is very, very exciting. And when I look back at a lot of the things that we are trying, there are always deep connections to, you know, those failures and what you're learning from them. And I feel like one of the reasons maybe I feel very excited about Swiggy's long-term future is I think our ability to deal with failures quite beautifully, not even gracefully. It was pretty hard when all of them came together, but over time I think it also becomes a motive. You're setting up a lot of experiments, moonshots with like small teams, small budgets, and then learning to deal with failure artfully. And there's that intoxicating feeling when you're wondering about, okay, what beautiful insight might this lead us to? And I think that makes us a little unique. We are, you know, a very rarely acquisitive company. We build a lot of things on our own. That builder DNA is well and alive. And that's maybe the one thing that today I wanted to talk about. I think this whole journey, as even Satish talked about, is absolutely non-linear, and there's always going to be some ups, some downs, and what you make of the downs are really like what, I think that'll make you as a founder, as a company. And as I mentioned, Nandan's 5th failure was Bundle, and that somehow led to Swiggy. And one of our biggest failures after building Swiggy was Swiggy Stores that led to Instamart. So having that inventing mindset and having like a very, very positive relationship with failure can lead to a lot of inventing. And I wish all of you all the best with learning maybe from these small lessons in failures and inventing and make them your own. Alrighty. Thank you very much.
Unlike the other members of the audience, I am a teacher of entrepreneurship and leadership. I'm also a crypto investor. If there is one domain, one area that rivals cryptocurrencies in terms of volatility or valuation, it is, I think, some of the startups that hit the public markets this year. I'll not name names, but there have been wealth destroyers, absolute wealth destroyers, which actually points to the fact that some of the startups may be there may be a very exaggerated valuation of the startups, because the ultimate proof of the pudding lies when the startups hit the public markets. Do you worry that the euphoria of the last 2 years might be leading to a rude wake-up call for some of the startups in India?
For us, we are into year 8 of our own journey. So cycles are like a part and parcel of the overall journey. So I don't think there's anything new to worry for me, having gone through some of these. I mean, I don't know how strong this cycle will be, but I think generally we kind of started thinking about how things were getting overheated and started to prepare for it. So I don't worry about it. It's a cyclical process. There's nothing like unprecedented about a cycle and then like a slowdown happening. But I think everyone's, adequately rising to the occasion. Someone was making a joke around how there are more VC memos on the winter than VCs right now. So I think people are taking a lot of notice. So I think there is always going to be survival of the fittest, and that will happen again.
The bottom line is the valuation game doesn't bother you.
Sorry? Yeah, absolutely not.
Hello, sir. I'm Ilyas from Code4India.com. I want to ask you, what was your vision behind acquiring Dineout and starting Swiggy Diners?
Right, for us, as I mentioned, in 2017-18, we started thinking about what we could do for the consumer more broadly than we had before. And the first few things that we did were explorations in delivery of other things, but we always knew, and even on day one, we talked about convenience shouldn't be tethered to like a dude or a dudette on a bike. It should be more coming from, why do we exist? And we want to exist and give little lifts in consumers' life so that they can live it up. And the things that we feel are logically fitting into that and into basically our own strengths in terms of, let's say, the user base we have and, the relationships that we have, make it compelling.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
How do you make your team, core team, deal with the failure, like each and every time? How do you go through it, like as a core team, and make them stay with you all the time?
I think one of the things is to also basically acknowledge that it's human. I think sometimes, while teams may be expecting you to be like some superhero who can't fail, I've actually learned that communicating openly about when you are failing is just like a great warm sign of vulnerability that gets people to generally open up towards their own failures. So that's at least the thing that's worked the most for us. And you obviously will need to have like practices inside the company that don't penalize failures of the right type. And some companies actually do a great job of celebrating failures of the right type. We're still on that path. So some of these are at least things that have worked for us.
We won't be able to take up any more questions because the next speaker is waiting, but request you to kindly stay back on the stage for just one moment. When you were talking about, everybody was asking questions, I remembered something, that there are many small entrepreneurs who are into the restaurant business. They have greatly benefited from Swiggy. So a huge round of applause for Swiggy, and a brilliant idea and a brilliant execution at that. I now request Rakshan to please join on the stage in the center, sir. Please, and hand over a token of appreciation on behalf of the entire management of T-Hub and the government of Telangana. Thank you so much, Harsha, for sharing